thank you everyone for the warm welcome, and we are a large panel. Hopefully we will keep it energetic enough. We realize that we are the last panel and standing between the afternoon and the awards. So we will try our best to keep it fully engaging on a topic which is about the vision of India, vision of AI in India. And I love the fact that the word CDAO has been converted by you guys to Chief Data and AI Officers. I think in most organizations it's still called Chief Data and Analytics Officers. And this is the future, right? So the word A in CDAO standing for AI. So I mean, if we just roll back in time, and we are obviously in a middle of a transition, we are middle of change. But a good way to assess the impact of change in the future is always to go back in the past and to then see how that past is today the present. Okay, to just make this a little fun, and this is a community of people who are at the edge of tech, who love tech hopefully, who've been reading throughout history. So the Apple phone is arguably one of the most foundational, transformational innovations. I think we all agree in the room, right? All of us were around when the iPhone came out, and it was something which was a game changer. A user interface on a mobile which you could touch. Can I have a show of hands? How many of us here actually bought an iPhone 1? Anyone in the audience? 0. Okay, 1. All right. We have a real innovator out there. iPhone 2, quick one. Conscious of time as well. 3. Okay, another one. So we have 2 people in. Okay. That's an interesting one. Okay, iPhone 4. Okay, another one. iPhone 5. 6. So I think this is when I see, and I've done this in a few audiences of people who are like-minded, who are professionals in the tech industry. It took typically 5 generations of iPhone before it caught wildfire. Okay, so there is an inertia of change. And when the change comes, I mean, similarly UPI, as HSBC, we are a shareholder in NPCI, and we saw so much resistance to UPI when we were ideating it, because the first argument was that this is for smartphones, and smartphones in 2015, 2016 were still not there in the last mile. So they were like, this is dead before arrival. Now, that is the UPI today, which is 45% of the world's volumes, right? On that note, quick introduction, Ranjan Bhattacharya. I head up strategy for HSBC in India, deeply involved in our digital and transformation agenda. I'll just quickly pass around for a quick introduction by everyone.
Hi, I am Devendra. I work for Mahindra and Mahindra, look after the financial sector from the AI and data adoption objective. So I have been in banking for 2 decades.
Nikesh, Srivastava, Chief Analyst Officer with Bajaj General Insurance. 18 years of experience in analytics, and I have seen industry from high tech to consulting to the retail, and from last 7 years I am with insurance industry.
Hi there, Siddharth, Sureka, Chief AI Officer from Motilal Oswal. Key role is to play as a control tower for AI adoption in the organization.
Hi, this is Tarun Mathur. I had strategy and innovation for Zuno General Insurance, part of the Allianz group. Excited to be here.
Hello everyone, this is Mahesh Agarwal from SBI General. I had the IT applications and entire enterprise data warehouse and data, anything related to data. Thank you.
Okay, so let's open it up with some numbers. 10,000 crores is what the Indian AI mission has allocated. Niti Aayog has said, rather than taking jobs, AI can actually create 4 million jobs. in the near future, which is by 2030. Let's see how that happens. But the optimism around AI is palpable. So may I open it up on the vision for India and AI? And Siddharth, if I could request you to take a stab at it, and maybe Tarun thereafter, from two different industries.
Sure. So if you take a step back, right, there's two tales of two different themes when it comes to India. One is of adoption and the other one is of R&D. And those were pretty divergent till more recently. Like right now we just heard that 10,000 crore has been invested. From an adoption standpoint, right, Microsoft recently released a research which said 65% users use AI in India compared to global average of 31%. So very far ahead from an usage standpoint. And as far as knowledge workers are concerned, 90% of Indian knowledge workers use AI. Again, very far ahead from rest of the world. But when you look at the R&D component of it, and that's why I say these two themes are very divergent, right? In 2024, about $100 billion was invested in private investments in US. And US, China, far leading the race in research and development. So it's great to see that the Indian government has put in 10,000 crore for India AI mission with the vision to make AI in India and make AI work in India with 4 core pillars, right? One being providing the compute. GPU is really expensive and the government is trying to provide compute for less than 65 rupees per hour, and that's really very cheap when you think about that. Second is in terms of AI Kosh, so that's the data sets that's been provided. Third is in terms of building the talent, right? And fourth is really helping everybody to think about AI through different competitions, so on and so forth. So I think now with this kind of initiative that the government has taken, we'll start seeing this convergence where R&D will start coming across more rapidly and there'll be more convergence of adoption and R&D.
Yeah, no, great to be here, and I concur with what Siddharth has just mentioned. I think the AI era is upon us, and there's a global race for almost for algorithms. But I'll agree what Siddharth says, that as we look at the scenario, there are far more number of users. Rather, I meet a lot of young startup engineers, and I see them using some of these tools extensively. But a lot of experiments, but less number of enterprise-grade tools. Good to see the government investing so much into it. But as we try and lay out the vision for the company, I think it's very important to do a deep, I would say, assessment of the current state, as well as our conviction of whether we want to lead it or just be part of it. I personally feel with all the digital prowess or the entrepreneurial energy we have or the government encouragement we have, I think we are well positioned to really lead it. However, it will require a lot of strategic capability building. And Siddharth did mention a lot of pillars, whether it is compute, whether it is infrastructure, or using AI for real societal transformation. There are various pillars which will need to be strengthened and augmented with all of this to for an AI for all sort of a mission. And most importantly, I feel there is a major upskilling push which is required. There is while the government is spending money, but we'll have to use and see how do we use private capital also in it. And somehow there has to be a mindset shift, I feel, where we have to move away from the users to from consumers to architects, and not just be a digital transformation back office for any company abroad, but to really be in the front line of innovation excellence. So yeah, excited. I think we have the potential, but some groundwork too.
Thank you. We'll come back to that thought of getting policy and industry together, and that's how we can co-create this vision. Now let's get back to today. Let's get back to reality. And a large part of being a leader in any organization, and that too on a topic like AI, is to really walk the talk. Because going back to my iPhone 1 example, many people are in that stage of adoption and questioning and cynicism and skepticism. While it is great on your phone to do a chat GPT, is it really great to do in the company when you're putting the brand at stake? Question, right? So how are we walking the talk as chief data officers, AI officers, strategy officers? So let's have one real example of a use case that this esteemed panel has worked upon, and B, how did you bring that use case to adoption and bringing it to real life? So in a couple of minutes, if I could just go around requesting Devendra to take a stab and then probably continue on.
Thank you, Ranjan. See, adoption is a very wide topic, and picking up one example is really tough in finance as a space. But before I jump into the use case, I'll say the philosophy, and I'm actually borrowing this concept from one of the top 3 consulting, where you say where to use AI, right? So it uses a framework of joy versus toil. And it says that as a human, we are extremely happy if we get to do a work which is very joyful, which actually require human skills, cognitive skills. While for a mundane routine work, we are more than happy to probably pass it on to AI. And for finance, the framework is either you use AI for growth or you use it for profitability, which is basically OPEX, or for control, or to support policies like PSL, etc. I'll pick up an example of profitability, which is coming through the efficiency. And there the topmost thing that comes to my mind is collections. Because that's one area where you go to the financial institutions. Not many people are happy collecting, right? We are very happy giving the money away, but when it comes to collection, it's a tough one. And it's also a very complex process, that how do you allocate the data? How do you reach out? If you are able to use AI and allow AI to do maximum job, then I think that's a phenomenal adoption. Also, just to give you some numbers, for a typical financial organization, almost 30 to 40% of lending organization goes and collect. So look at the kind of OPEX you carry. Secondly, if you look at any AUM, the entire lending book, typically 6 to 8% of that sits in your what we call as a gross stage 2 or stage 3, which is again the collectible surplus. Imagine doing a 10-20% better job. You can actually double the profitability of the organization. And from that perspective, I have seen personally in my last few organizations that the use of AI to decide who should be allowed to collect, whether a human or a call center or an AI agent, how should it be approached, when should you settle, and when should you repossess if it's a secured lending product. That's where AI is used significantly. Of course, it's being used by the use of either as a co-pilot or as a complete full-fledged agent. Good example of co-pilot is when I am negotiating with a customer, can my AI agent probe that at what level you should settle, or should you settle at all or go and repossess the vehicle? And the agentic is completely where the agent is able to go and negotiate and close the deal. So that's one area where I do feel that there's a great adoption.
Thank you.
Before I talk about use case, let me explain you what is the insurance industry. So insurance business is very simple. You pay us the money, we just give you a piece of paper and a promise. When you are in a troubled time, we are there to support you. Like you would have heard LIC advertisement, आपके साथ भी, आपके बाद भी. So what is the moment of truth for an insurance company is the claim. If we're putting in a claim and we are able to pay that claim within certain time period, we are living in the era where we want pizza to be delivered in 30 minutes And the company like Chepto and Blinkit has made us so lazy. We want our grocery to be delivered in 8 minutes. This generation also expects similar behavior from insurance industry. The moment you are putting in a claim, the claim should get settled within 30 minutes, maybe within 3 hours. Think about a scenario when your near and dear has met an accident, your near and dear is hospitalized, and you put in a claim to the insurance company, and they're not able to settle the claim within the stipulated time. That creates a lot of anxiety and a lot of financial pressures on you. So to solve that problem, we have built an agentic AI framework. The moment you make in a car accident, you can just need to just take videos and picture, send it to us. My AI agent will analyze the images, will try to detect the kind of damages, external or internal. If it is external damages, we'll try to estimate the repair or replacement strategy if it is a repairable. We send it, be guided to the garage directly. If it required and the replacement and the cost of the replacement is coming less than certain threshold, we immediately pay money to your account. And one more thing in insurance industry, the biggest problem is the fraudulent. Like we suffer a lot. We have a lot of leakages due to fraudulent thing. And there is a very nice proverb in Bihar. Since some people are doing fraud behavior with us, तो जो के साथ घुन को ही पिसना पड़ता है. So if some people are really doing bad to us, we treat everyone like they might be trying to fraud with us. So what we do, we build a kind of AI algorithm which can predict the chances of fraud. And later on, we also predict what is the not having chances of having a single fraudulent behavior in this claim. If that case turns out to be a very green case for us, we immediately go and expedite the process, and instead of taking 10 days for investigations and processing your claim, we try to process that claim within 1 and 2 days to make your customer satisfied. And since it is customer involved, and being a customer-centric company like Bajaj, anything which are involving with the customer, the adoptions are going to be very high. This is the one project when we started doing this. We first get a high claim satisfaction score, and then on return, insurance is like a Netflix subscription. Every year, you get a chance to change your service provider. But if you are getting this kind of services, your STP cases, your turnaround time is very less, your customer satisfactions are very high, you continue business with us. So what we have seen, any customers who receive this type of treatment from us, their renewal rate has gone 40 times more than the regular customers. And in return, we are able to drive the top line. So the project which was designed to aim for operational excellence, reduction in the turnaround time, making my surveyor life easy, that has given us an additional outcome which is impacting my top line. For any project which can hit either top line, bottom line, operational excellence, or maybe 3 of this project adoptions are going to be very high. Hence, this project becomes very successful. And we always quote this in an example how AI can help making a customer life easy and also make it profitable.
Like Ranjan asked for very specifically like big use case. Obviously, we have the traditional ones in terms of chatbots and co-pilots for software development, as well for marketing generation, so on and so forth. But if you look at hardcore use case, right, like Motilal Oswal prides itself in the research that we provide to our clients. And we spend a lot of time in sifting through huge amount of data to really create research reports that is really valuable for clients. So we have used and leveraged AI across the life cycle of generating the report, including pre-processing humongous amount of data that goes into understanding of what the outcomes can be, right? So that's huge. Also, we stand for democratizing this information across all the clientele. And what that means is sometimes the research report can be dense and it can be very informative, but very dense for general users to understand, right? So how do we take that research report and then piecemeal it so it's more consumable for different people in areas of their interest, right? So that's really become very easy, and in different languages we can do that now. That's what's the power of AI, really democratizing access of information to our clients.
Thank you, Siddharth. Over to Tarun.
Yeah, no, we too, I mean, while we have been experimenting a lot with various tools and LLMs which exist, I think we have adopted a slightly more cautiously optimistic approach, And while we have used some of the chatbots and voice bots, especially for renewal callings, etc., but our focus is to actually use it for real productive cases in our core businesses, which is underwriting and claims. So we are trying something where we could use AI to give us a better risk selected cohort and to be able to assess claims, the first aspect of it. But early days, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, on track.
I belong to general insurance. So in general insurance, and especially with SBI, we have more than 10 crores customers, and we have settled more than 5,000 crores business claims. So is it possible to do everything manually? So where does AI comes into picture? Or it's evolving? Has it taken everything? No, but it's evolving. So where are we using as a part of a use case? So there are three areas. One is the underwriting piece, where there is a huge activity which can be done, and we are working on the same. Basically, we are working on claims and fraud analytics, wherein there are multiple areas from where you get the data. The customer behaviors, the data coming from IIBs. An IIB is an institute where all the insurance companies of general and life, they share transaction data. So from there, a lot of insight starts coming in, and we start preparing those analytical models, which then translates into AI related activity. Further, there are documents which comes from hospitals, where a lot of LLMs, a lot of OCRs, a lot of intelligence which we built upon, and basis on that, certain risk-taking activity, risk score gets calculated, and we start understand whether this is a fraud, whether this has to go into investigations, whether this has to be settled within 30 minutes or 1 hour. We are in a regulated entity, but does hospital or garages are regulated? No, but we are responsible. So we have to ensure that necessary tools, necessary technology, data, and the applications, they are integrated in a way which can help our customer, which can help settle the claim processing much better, much faster. So this is the area of use case that we are already worked upon, and it's already live. Apart from this, there are other use cases on motor, wherein any claim which comes of any of the OEMs, there are AI-enabled activity which happens through, which identify, detects, and necessary damages get identified, and we offer the out-of-box settlement and other things as well. Regarding crop, regarding rural, regarding climates, I believe Nikesh has already spoken about. So with this, how do we identify an appropriate use case for an AI? A high impact, high volumes, and to begin with, it helps us in identifying as a support, and then we try to take over the entire AI for risk-based analysis. So that's how, and that's where we are into. Yeah, over to you.
I think we heard across the panel, and there's a clear demonstration that leaders are walking the talk. It is not just theory, it's being applied. In my own organization, we actually framed our policies way back in 2019. Some AI use cases are in the 5th year. For example, fraud is a great example, where a global bank like us has trillions of transactions going on, and humanly just impossible. So forget productivity, these threw up data points that we never knew earlier. For example, intercorporate transactions, and which could be trade and exports imports frauds. Very, very complex. So moving over to things like productivity. So clearly fraud, risk management, productivity is where we see a large frame of use cases, where you clearly have an upside. I think knowledge management, thanks for the example from Motilal. I think knowledge, research, how do you enable and help people become better and help people on information, I think that's the next level, and that's some of the use cases we are seeing. So moving on to knowledge and linking to the theme of talent, today in all of our organizations we have two different kinds of problem sets. One, how do you have the right team who's developing for you fit for purpose LLMs, fit for purpose use cases? Who is that ninja team? Who are those team you really want to nurture? Who will be the role model? The second is 99% balance of your company. How do you ensure they don't feel left out? How do you include the rest of your company to up-tier their own productivity by using self-help tools and do it yourself kind of AI, as well as adopt and give good ideas, participate in hackathons, sandboxes, and help the ninjas really come out with new models, right? So on the theme of talent, if I could request Devendra, maybe if you would like to share some thoughts.
Yeah, thank Ranjan. I think you have already answered part of what I wanted to share, which is the why part. So anything that when we say we need to skill or maybe build a skill set within the organization talent, we must first of all ask why. So you spoke about why part, the ninja team versus the mass. I would probably further bifurcate mass into the leadership and also the translators and the executors. And of course the ninja team, which is the SME, which needs to be skilled. Now once we know that why we need to do it and who we need to really skill, the question is how do we skill it? What kind of skill set, what kind of tool sets which are available with us? For the leadership which has to walk the talk and the most important layer as well to drive that vision, mentoring and reverse mentoring as a concept works big time. While of course all of us understand mentoring, but what is reverse mentoring? It is at the SME level, going back to the leadership and sitting with them for the adoption. Now, why does a leader need AI? Today, what used to, like my friend Saurav was covering, in his discussion on MIS and different numbers from different sets of people. Now today the leadership is used to instant data and inciting, right? So the adoption of a Gen AI toolkit that you build by the leader itself is a training and workshop, and that requires reverse mentoring, the SMEs going and walking up and in fact training them. Second is of course about the ninjas. Most of the organizations, including mine, is now getting into something called as AI Academy route, where there is a clear layering of foundation, advanced and expert level of ninjas, and there is a clear metric which is driven over a period of time. So today, if I probably take a vote here, that do you know that how many of your employees, even in the ninja cohort, can be qualified as an expert level SME? We may probably struggle because we don't really carry a number while we do a lot of study. So I do feel that a clear academy approach with metrics and layering is a must. And if you look at a larger global ecosystem of training and skilling, one is of course the talent rotation. It's very, very important. We just spoke about the role of regulator. We spoke about the role of fintech in the previous discussion. We need people from regulator, fintech, and the adopters to switch over and rotate over a period of time, and we need to really build also forums with forums like SIDBI, NASSCOM, and also RBI Innovation Hub to create a complete ecosystem of AI talent build-up. So that's pretty much what I feel is the coverage that is needed today.
Thanks, and indeed, we are already seeing platforms, softwares, operating systems come out with powerful AI releases on their own, right? So if any of you are on Microsoft Copilot in your organizations, or if you're using Gemini, the vendors are already empowering your laptops, your iPads with AI. Any of you would like to touch upon the unprecedented power that your staff already has, and as CDAOs, how do you deal with that?
So in Bajaj, we wanted to make Gen AI is like a day-to-day usable tool. We created a centralized platform, which we call this Bajaj GPT. We have bring all the professional Gen AI tools available is one of the platform, and we have given this access to all of my employees. And we are monitoring what kind of question you are asking. Based on the kind of questions you are asking, I'm going to create something called an FAQ. What is the most being asked, like a recommendations engine. And then based on the recommendations engine, we are going to train rest of the employee. If you are using this type of tools and you are asking this type of question, if you are getting this type of answer, and then we are trying to link it to the impact. Let us say somebody from sales are asking a question, and I see one department which are asking maximum question about where to sell, what to sell, and I'm seeing an uplift in the sales. I can completely correlate that to the activity which they are doing with the Bajaj GPT tool. Apart from that, in Bajaj, we also run a program which is called internal job rotations, which I am running a central analytics team. Then within the central analytics team, each department also has an embedded analytics team. We identify a couple of bright guys. We take them, because they are a domain expert, we train them on a data science tool, and then we deploy them back to their specific domains so that they can start contributing. How this is helping me, I built a model and hand over that model to that person. It takes that model and ML ops remain with that individual department. So that way it is helping me a lot to free up my time to do more and more R&D and work. This is the way I am driving these things in my organization. Yeah.
Thank you. Conscious of time, probably linking the theme of talent and experimentation into outcomes of experimentation, outcomes of innovation, which also lends itself to ethics. And we've all seen, probably experienced hallucination in AI and type 2 errors, for example, in machine learning. So as organizations, as society, when you talk about ethics, it becomes a very important consideration when you frame your policies. So if I could probably just run around to hear what your own company is specifically doing towards ethics. And before I hand over, I was just mentioning in 2019 we started off formally governing AI. We actually set up an AI governance board and an ethics policy. So 2019 HSBC became the first bank in the world to have a formal ethics policy. We are talking 6 years back in time. Over to you.
No, you're absolutely right, Ranjan. And no conversation of AI happens without the mention of governance and ethics. And it's important because explainability is becoming important. Zuno are asking, and you can't have an output given by a model without you understanding it. So at Zuno, what we have done is at least we have a AI usage policy for the question which you were asking, whether how much control and how much freedom do we want to give to our employees in terms of trying out new stuff. There is a committee which we internally call as AI vanguards who govern the usage and allow certain access to these tools. But besides that, at a board level, what we have set up is an ethics committee who looks at how at various levels, how is model risk management being ensured? How is internal audit looking into it? How is AI or ML ops being managed operationally? And what are data stewards doing, and how data as a value asset being catered to? So I think there is a strategic focus on it, and I think we intend to continue with that.
So thanks, Ranjan, for bringing out this topic, and I really appreciate about the AI governance framework. We need AI governance framework. It's nothing that we can't. But to have a AI governance, we need to first have a data quality or a data governance framework. If that is not there, your fundamentals, your basic blocks are not in picture then. So I believe everyone has some layer of data governance and data quality. Apart from that, when we talk about AI governance and such, it has to be a transparent model, it has to be fair, it has to be auditable, so that tomorrow whenever we want to verify the models, the auditability needs to happen, and in a way the consent based mechanism as well. So now things are moving into a consent based. So how can we ensure that necessary consent based are also a party to it?
Thanks. I think I completely agree with you. And the way we have structured it is we think about our models from two lenses. One is the manufacturing aspect of it, and the other is adoption aspect of it. So in the manufacturing, I think you covered well in terms of how do we build a model, what is the data lineage, can we reproduce the model, the auditability, and so on and so forth. On the adoption lens, the way we look at it is, what is the cost of getting it wrong, right? If we take that simple metric, what's the cost of getting it wrong? We want to make sure that based on that, we have the proper guardrails put in place. We have human in the loop put in place. So for example, if I have AI model which is doing a marketing campaign, and if I reach out to a customer which may not be my customer, no biggie, right? But if I give a wrong information to my client, that's a challenge, right? So for those kind of things, you want to put human in the loop in process, and the ones which are low cost, that's completely autonomous.
So while we are talking about AI governance, the two things are very important. One is your what kind of data you are feeding. Like if data quality is poor, AI is going to be giving you a poor outcome. Okay. So right now the data is equal to AI. If there is low value data, low value AI. If it is no data, no AI. Most of the company, before talking AI, they are not checking the data health. If data quality is not there, you don't have a right to talk about AI, GenAI, agentic AI. The most, as a ML practitioner, I make sure while building the model, I at least check fairness test, my model should pass through. The bias test, my model must pass through. And third, for my business user, who are very native to AI models, there should be explainability. If I'm saying this guy is going to be profitable for me, they want to understand why did you say it like that. They want to understand. Once they understand why we are saying it like that, they will marry that with their experience. If that experience is really explained by AI, they're going to adopt your model very fast. A second thing, in India is a very large country, we have a multiple culture, and the way we are building the centralized model may not be the right things to do. We have to build federated learning. Person from Bihar, person from South India may think different for the different scenarios. Now, how do you keep those learnings as a part of your model? Do you want to build a centralized model which normalizes all those things? Or do you want to build a federated learning model? We're building a single model for this part of India and the second part of India, some other part of India. And then you collaborate all the model all together and then create an unique model. So this is concept called federated learning, which is going to pick up very well to make sure that all the regional bias which is available in India should not impact your central decisions. So this is few things we have to take care of: data quality or that regional bias. Your model must pass through these things, the fairness test, and by explaining the model in a very simplistic term, build a trust for a user to adapt to your model. This is the options with the trust.
Just 10 seconds, I just want to add one point in the ethical AI that we should be very sure also as part of policy, AI ethical policy, that we are not to use AI, right? So if the customer is under distress or there is a complaint from a distressed customers, are we going to first let the customer face agent and then probably as a third layer coming to human, or the other way around? That needs to be clear as well. And I think most of the organizations, including mine, has taken a conscious call of not including AI in a space like this.
Thanks, and that reminds me, what not to do is a great point. And again, in banking, we have a very good old principle of 4-eye check. What basically meant is that any maker has to have a checker, and makes me think that should we actually have agentic AIs doing a policeman role on other AIs? Why not? If one AI produces an output, can another LLM be trained to only see output and check their source, check their validity, check their probability of being right before it actually goes out? So we started with the problem statement, where do we want to see India at? Then we went into today, the ground reality. We talked about use cases, how we are bringing this to life. And then we talked about the people who are bringing it to life. How do we get our talent in place and get a future fit for purpose talent in our shops? And finally, we talked about guardrails, the ethics, that play around, innovate, but be within the rule book. be within your limits, right? That's a great framework and poises us probably to the end of this panel, which is about the vision for 2047, a Viksit Bharat. What does a Viksit Bharat look like enabled by AI? So, conscious the timer is showing we are up on time. So maybe just a couple of comments on the end game. Mahesh, if I could request your views.
So the vision for a general insurance as laid by the regulator, the IRDA, insurance for all, 2047. And the job is not easy. We are less than 2% penetration currently. So how are we going to ensure that within these years we do it? So my take is a regulator, the innovation needs to marry with the compliance as well as get the journey on AI to fast track the insurance, the claims, the customer service better, and a journey where we get a better services around with a proper pricing. Yeah.
Thank you. And maybe the last one from Tarun, and given you've worked with Geo, I mean, the company which has made data so affordable in everybody's hands, and probably we read about the statistics that India is around 20% of the world's data traffic. So from that lens, if you were to pivot to 2047.
No, absolutely. I think what you mentioned is the infrastructure part, which is very crucial as we really envision this, roadmap. And while the government is actively working, and I must say that all the regulators and all the regulatory bodies I've interacted with, they've taken a very collaborative stance, and rather I encourage all enterprises like ourselves to really reciprocate with, by contributing expertise, and I think Ranjan also mentioned various sandbox programs and, various consultative papers which come out. I think we should actively help and co-create and create the rule books for it, because what we'll need is a very different playbook. See, outspending, then any other country might not help us. So we'll have to really look at ways in which we use our multilingual adverse data or whatever demographic dividend and other aspects we have as a strategic lever for us. So collaborating with the regulator is a strategic one. It's very crucial. I think, I would end with while AI is a technology, it's not a tech craze, it's a governance marathon. So you have to, continue at a steady pace and fill in, check all the boxes and do it. So yeah, but I'm definitely upbeat on the potential of the country and the talent which we have. We surely would be able to achieve that. Yeah.
I think in conclusion, thanks. If I could request Nikesh, if you could.
Yeah, for me, the Viksit Bharat, when it comes from the AI perspective, you remember that those days when the Western world was creating a software, we label ourselves like a software coolie. We becomes like a service provider to those software company. But this time I want India to be front runner. They should develop an AI which will be used by the Western country, and instead of creating an AI coolie, we should create an AI leaders, and we should create exactly the same moment what we have created in terms of digital UPI payment. That whole world knows that nobody can do better than us, and similar story should come for the AI India. That's the Viksit Bharat, the trusted AI for India, for the Viksit Bharat.
So I think that would be my quick response, that yes, you're right, but B, action is underway. As conscious of time, so probably just winding up here, and thank you for being a very patient audience and passing it back for the awards.